Hello, I'm Mel. I just wanted to tell you about some of the work I do with families because I think it might be useful to you. Often we get caught up in behaviours, and it's really my job to look under the hood of what's really going on to make new sense of it, so that we can really attend to what's happening in perhaps a different way. So I like to draw a house, and in the top of the house is the attic, the body of the house, and then the basement. And behaviors would sit up in the attic, feelings in the body of the house, and in the basement is our physiology, what's going on in our bodies. And that way we can kind of start to look at and in a little bit more in depth from what's going on up in the attic, what's going on in the house, what's going on in the basement. And that's a really nice way of kind of helping people to explore in more depth. I've been working with a family recently, and it's really interesting when the social worker gives me the list of what this child is not doing. The child isn't doing this, the child is doing that, the child won't do this, won't do that, won't do that. And it always foxes parents when I ask them, what are they good at? It's sometimes really hard when they're overwhelmed and this kid's kind of not doing what they want, to answer that question. And there's a couple of things we can do that really help children thrive instead of close down and collapse. One is to try not to personalize the behavior, that it's about us. That's really hard to do sometimes. We kind of I often hear phrases like they may be attention seeking or they're manipulative. And behavior really is a communication that things aren't okay and the child may be struggling. I work with a lot with foster and adoptive families, and so when I actually speak to the child, what you start to understand is that somebody's forgotten what it's like to arrive in a house that's not your home. This isn't your family. All the rules are different. I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. I don't know when I'm going home. And so often there's underlying anger and hurt and grief going on that isn't acknowledged. And so what that does is then you've got a child maybe operating out of awareness that actually doesn't want to follow your rules. You're not my mom. It's very much the same story in step families where maybe the wounds and the pain of and the trauma of the family breaking up hasn't been acknowledged, and then a step parent is moved in. So if we don't acknowledge what's going on emotionally, then we'll never get to that behavior change. So it's my job to help have those difficult conversations. The family I have in mind, the child didn't feel comfortable telling her foster mom that. Thankfully she was able, because I asked the right questions, to tell me, and then I was able to help mom have a glimpse into her foster daughter's world, and we could renegotiate some of the boundaries, like somebody's not used to having so much structure, and so how can we loosen it up a little bit and negotiate. Often parents feel like they have to hold all the boundaries and all the power, but there's something really magical about how handing some of that power over to children and allowing them to choose and them to have some input into what happens to them and what happens in this home. And so we can start to maybe negotiate. There is reasons to hold the boundaries for sure. And there are ways to offer a no that is respectful, that is kind, and that helps the kids manage the disappointment when that no is given, and more importantly, allow them to be able to know what they need to do to get a yes. That's massively useful. So yeah, I absolutely love working with families. When you start to get curious, you start to see a really different landscape, and sometimes we can really look at finding the difference that makes a difference. There's generally always pain underneath the behaviours, and when that's acknowledged, things sometimes start to settle down. We can absolutely give kids back some power, so you're not caught in power battles. We can absolutely meet their attachment needs and their needs for close proximity without them having to do anything to get that. So yeah, that's what I do with families. I'm talking rather fast here because I know long videos aren't always that attractive, but I really want to give you an essence of some of the work I do. And there was tears, but there was also a lot of learning for this particular family, because actually now they can go, oh, okay, we missed so much. And there's often a little bit of shame. But you know what I say to these families is, when you know better, you can do better. And often families aren't given all the tools in the toolbox to do the best job. So we can add some new ones in. And that's done sensitively and compassionately, holding both parents and children. And sometimes the wider system, working with social workers or schools. So yeah, working systemically. I hope that's really useful to give you some input on the work that I do with my families. I'm Mel Riley, adult child and family therapist. Bye.